shouldn't have said this. If I had you would be someone I miss. And all of the tables they keep turning, all of the rope I held is burning, and I know I shouldn't have let go. And my hands are getting tired, but I started this fire. And my hands are getting tired, but I started this fire. I walk along the water and I see my reflection in the lake.
A little bit of light, a little bit of gold. Under pressure, you start to fold like a diamond from gold. Maybe you are something I cannot define. Maybe you are the fallen kind. I lay in bed with violence, the silent side of me. We see where fire starts to breathe. When I would lay in silence, the voice inside of me made me lose my mind right. Lose my mind right. Lose my mind right. Lost in the moment, I found myself. Do you ever wanna turn back time? I never even got to say goodbye. When I was lay in silence, the voice inside of me made me lose my mind right.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to once again another live stream here on the Speed Force Racing YouTube channel. Today it will be me, myself and I, VB Thomas, as your commentator, as we're racing in season 16 round I gotta double check on which round we are at the moment. Man, my preparation is the worst. 1 second guys, we are currently in round 17 around Texas. So we're going to be having a short qualifying and a 50% race afterwards. All the guys are currently lined up in the pit lane, obviously putting on their right setups and hopefully also the right tire, which is going to be the soft tires during a race. We've got 18 people in the lobby today, with obviously the famous Haas team, Burley and Mitrandir currently in P3 and P4. We've got Mr. Wiggles and also the V-Car currently in the Alpine team. Hopefully we're going to be seeing another good result from the V-Car tonight. because we haven't seen him in the last 2 races, if I'm not mistaken. We've also got a Silver Fox, and the other V-Carb driver is not in the lobby, apparently. We have got Ellie and Simo, obviously the famous female team here in Speed Force Racing. Hopefully they're going to be putting a good result on the board here today. For Ferrari, John Mopes is alone today, as Cowboy is not going to be in that McLaren car. He's not going to be on the grid at all. We've also got the infamous Red Bull team. Is that used correctly? Infamous, like extremely famous. I don't know if it's the right word choice, but Doran and Billy obviously representing Red Bull here tonight, as they're hopefully going to do a good performance. Prep and Helfor is the duo I want to see in the top 10 once again after their excellent performance last week. We've got also Aurigulus, currently the only driver, together with Matt G in that Williams car, obviously. And then we've got Sofanico and Gox in Aston Martin. Stank and Chris Big Pro. Let's see whether Chris Big Pro is going to have a good comeback race today once again. I think he's first going to try and get a good qualifying lap on the board here tonight around Austin. But Stank, obviously a good performance last week as well, although he was a little bit unlucky. Let's see if that is going to continue today. The other driver who is by himself is... we've got 2 drivers by themselves, obviously, Silver Fox and John Mopes. And apart from that, we have covered everyone. Lewis, welcome in the chat. That is obviously Aurigulus, currently in P13 in that Williams car. Setup-wise, we are looking at a low downforce setup most likely, as there is quite a... No! Are we looking at a low... wet race, apparently. We're going to be having a wet race, so that means we're going to be having a high downforce setup. With a low downforce setup, the guys are going to be faster down the straights, but a little bit slower through the corners, which means that they're not going to be able to get those S's in Sector 1 perfectly nailed during the wet weather, so a little bit of higher downforce can always help. Apart from that, we are currently on board with John Mopes, who's coming around the penultimate corner. Heading into the last corner, goes the McLaren driver, and hopefully a good round from, a good lap from John Mopes there. Down the straight he goes, the air is wide open, as this is most likely one of the better opportunities for the guys to make an overtake during the race. You do want to flip the curb on the exit there, on the entry. On the exit as well, as it doesn't seem like John Mopes is really abusing those curbs on the entry, neither on the exit. Going into turn 2, into turn 3, into turn 4, a lot of curb to be taken there, as there's a very unlikeliness that you're going to be invalidating through Sector 1. Then heading into Sector 2, you want to watch out for the exit there. If you carry too much speed, you're going to be getting a track warning, and during a qualifying lap, that is going to be very bad, as your lap won't be counted. Now down the straight we go, the air is wide open. We've got that car on the left side, but he's going to go a little bit slower for John Mopes to get past, obviously. As I said, the air is wide open, and ERS is a very important thing here around Austin as well. As you can see there, John Mopes doesn't have any ERS left in the tank. Chris Big Pro puts himself on pole for now with a 132.8. John Mopes is coming around turn 13, that is, into turn 14, then into turn 15, and then turn 16 is that long right-hander, which you've got here in Austin. Watch out for the tire wear as well as the tire overheating, because you can easily lose the car when your tires are overheated coming through that long right-hander into turn 17 and then into turn 18, which is going to be the last corner here around Austin. And let's see how John Mopes... Oh, and he invalidates in the last corner. That is not good news for John Mopes. He's out of ERS as well, so he won't be able to go for another one, I'm afraid. Prep coming across the line with a 133.9, putting himself in P5 for now. We might want to go on board with the V-Cars. He's entering Sector 3 as we speak with his very own teammate right behind him. That is obviously Mr. Wiggles, still on an outlet, but maybe the V-Car will be able to give him a little bit of a tow down the straight. Because the tow works quite well here, especially down that second main straight, coming out of turn 11. Now here comes the V-Car, down the straight he goes, the air is wide open, puts himself in P4, a good comeback qualifying for the Alpine driver, as we most likely will be seeing a little tow from the V-Car on Mr. Wiggles. As we're talking about Mr. Wiggles, let's go on board with our favorite Britishman here in Speed Force Racing, as hopefully he's going to put himself in the top 3. We've seen a good qualifying streak from Mr. Wiggles in these last couple of races, but I'm really wondering whether he's going to be doing the same here tonight in Austin. It seems a little tricky to get through those S's, with the car going from left to right, a little bit Yeah, and he's also got his very own teammate in front of him who might give him a little dirty air. Has to watch out. I do think they're planning on giving each other a tow there. Here comes the V-car, ran turn 11, and now, oh, Mr. Wiggles goes a little deeper. That might have costed him a couple of hundreds. And down the straight they go. A lot of slipstream to be taken there for Mr. Wiggles. You can see how much he's pulling. I mean, not necessarily away, but closer to the V-car. Into turn 12 he goes. A lot of curb taken, and that will be a good sector 2 for Mr. Wiggles. But I do think he lost a bit of time there coming out of turn 11 when he went a little deeper. I personally thought it was going to invalidate. Apparently that was not the case. Now here comes Mr. Wiggles through turn 15. Into turn 16 he goes, and this most likely will be a fastest lap. I do think it is very important for the teams to work together with each other and give each other a slipstream there. Now coming around the last corner goes Mr. Wiggles. What time will it be for the Alpine driver? And can both the Alpine drivers make the Alpine team proud? No, they cannot, as Mr. Wiggles puts himself in P4, pushing his very own teammate to P6 there. As both the Haas drivers, once again, a good performance. Mitrandir and Burley, most likely their favorite tracks, as we've seen some guys being able to compete with the guys. Currently, it is only Chris Big Pro who's anywhere close near Burley. As we might want to go on board with Halvor, who is one of the only ones who hasn't set a lap yet. I assume all the guys still in the pit lane either have a qualifying ban or invalidated their previous lap. I haven't seen Halvor come around the track yet, so this most likely will be his first lap as he's coming into sector 3 at the moment. We don't have our lap data on, which we do definitely need to, compare different laps with each other, especially here Halvor, who hasn't set a lap yet. Welcome, Keeves. How are you doing, buddy? Halvor coming around that turn 16 into turn 17, and then of course turn 18. Early on the brakes in turn 18, but not too early, because otherwise you're gonna invalidate, like Mr. Who was it again? Who invalidated again? John Mobes, obviously, as Halvor comes across the line in P4. Good qualifying again from the Kicksauber driver. So we most likely be seeing him again in a later lap. Now let's go on board with Simo here, who just came across the line in P13. Not a bad lap at all, but obviously she can do a little better, trying to get within that top 10. We have seen Ellie perform really well in the last couple of weeks, but today it seems to be a little less for the Ferrari driver, currently in P11. So you might want to go on board with Halvor's teammate. No, he's coming back into the pits. Maybe with Origulas, who's currently just entered Sector 1, so we're not going to focus on that. Maybe Sofanico, who's using the DRS, which is not necessarily needed as he's on an outlap at the moment. Let's go on board with Mr. Wiggles. What is the Alpine driver going to do? Not up in his time. No, he is up in his time. 18 thousandths for Mr. Wiggles right now as he's entered Sector 2. Maybe a little slipstream from the Haas driver who's ahead of him. Might not hurt Mr. Wiggles, but then on the other side, you don't want to see your teammate giving a tow to another driver of a different team, obviously. So maybe it's not the best idea for the Haas driver to give a tow. Although I think that's Mitrandir, who's not necessarily given a tow. He's on a fast lap himself. He got a tow from the Williams driver, which is Origulas at the moment, or Maggi. No, most likely Origulas, as Maggi finds himself in Sector 1 there. I was unaware of the Sector 2 time from Mr. Wiggles. Is he up on his time? Is he not? I think we're going to be able to see that when he comes into the pit or when he doesn't, as he invalidates. So we will be seeing Mr. Wiggles coming into the pits. And that's where we're going to focus on Origulas, who hasn't set a time yet. Coming around the last corner goes the Portuguese driver. As DRS will be enabled, but not sure whether that will be too much of a help here down this little straight. Welcome in the chat, by the way. Indigo, how are you doing, buddy? It goes very well. That is a wrong translation, but it's very well. I mean, I'm very well. How are you yourself? Origulas seems to be cutting the corners quite nicely. A little snap there coming into turn 7 or 8 as he's entered Sector 2 at the moment, but he doesn't have a reference time, so we won't be able to compare the times with each other. I'm pretty sure Origulas isn't going to put himself anywhere near the top 5, but we might be seeing him entering the top 10 today. He had a pretty decent qualifying last week, but bumped back a little bit. And down the straight he goes, the Portuguese driver, most likely abusing that DRS as much as he can, and yes, indeed he does. As you can see there, that little wing is open. I mean, there's a little gap between both wings where it now says Williams. That's where the guys will be able to use the DRS, and it makes your car faster down the straight because the wind can flow through the wings. So right now, the wings are used to navigate through the corners, obviously. Now here comes Origilas on the soft tires, obviously, and the time to beat is like a 134. I think he should be good with a 134 to not end up in the last 3 positions. So that would be a top 15 place there for the Portuguese driver. Now coming around the last corner, I think it will be a 133 if I'm being honest. Here he comes across the line, and it will be a 133.4. What a time from Origilas, putting himself in P6 right now, and he's outbeating his very own teammate, who usually is a little bit faster than the Portuguese driver. I think Origilas has done some practice behind his wheel there, if he's not on a controller, obviously. The Silver Fox, is he going to go on a lap? I think he does. A little bit a little bit curb taken on the exit there, but not too much. I would assume the guys have to abuse that corner as much as possible, but look at how he's curb riding right now in Sector 1. Heading into Sector 2 goes Silver Fox, and that V-Carb car is... yeah, I don't know what to think of it. It's looking like previously Toro Rosso kind of looked like this, with the blue, the red, and the black, if I'm not mistaken. I personally think it looks alright. It's not the worst. Not like... what car do I think is ass? Maybe Williams. I don't like Williams that much. As Matt G comes across the line, only 9 thousandths away from Burley there, bumping himself up from P9 to P2. And Origilas now pushed back to P8, and Mr. Wiggles also pushed back to P7. So not a great lap there by... I mean, not necessarily a bad lap, but obviously we're expecting more from Mr. Wiggles here during his battle for the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. Now there's a car parked on the inside in turn 16, and that's not where you want to be because the guys try to, cut the corners down the inside. I don't like Kick Sauber either, but it was previously Alfa Romeo, and I'm a big Alfa Romeo fan, so yeah, I can't really hate towards Kick Sauber there. Silver Fox comes across the line in P11. Many OWR drivers once again here in Speed Force Racing. You might want to go on board with John Mopes again, or maybe with one of the top guys, as Chris Bro just has gone on a fast lap with a lot of traffic up ahead. That's both the Haas drivers, a Red Bull and a V-Carb driver, so a lot of drivers he'll have to overtake, because I think the Haas driver isn't going to go to the side. Yeah, you can see there, Chris Pro with a little mistake, possibly impeded by one of the Haas drivers, Mitrandir or Burley, and it would be more logical if it was Mitrandir. No, it's apparently Burley, so that might give a little troubles at the end of the race. Possibly a little penalty there for Burley, which is not going to be very beneficial for the Haas team. But, I mean, Haas is quite far up the road in the Constructors' Championship, so we're going to take the results of last week with us, and also the Constructors real quick. As I'm quickly going to have a look. Apparently, the lap data. Oh, yeah. Wait, hold up, Dan. Alrighty, so constructor-wise, we are. Oh wait, it's with a website once again. No, Google Docs, whatever. Constructor-wise, we are looking at a very big lead for Haas with 528 points. It's actually not that big. Look at that. Alpine about 14 points behind, and then we have got Red Bull with 456 points in P3. Apart from that, we are looking at Burley currently leading the championship. The V-Car in P2, so it's good that he's coming back to race. So you might want to go on board with Mr. Wiggles here. Doran in P3, Mr. Wiggles in P4, so he's actually battling for that top 3 position, only 20 points away from Doran in P3. And we've got Mitrandir in P5, so a heated battle for the Drivers' Championship as well as the Constructors' Championship. So that's definitely going to be something to look at here in this race. There's a lot of points for grabs in an Austin Grand Prix. Usually a lot of guys tend to crash out. So when you crash out, you're going to be losing a decent amount of points there compared to the other guys who are going to be scoring points in this race. Now here comes Mr. Wiggles around the last corner. He goes as I'm just going to check out the chat here real quick. Can't wait for the Haas livery next year. And Lewis says, controller with almost 55 years old, I am not buying a setup. Fair enough, Lewis. I mean, you can still buy a setup and race on that setup for like 15 years, dude. You just gotta have the dedication. Like Mr. V-Car. The V-Car is still racing, and he's getting 70 this year. Congratulations to you, the V-Car. I know you don't like to hear it, but I still admire people like that who have the guts to still race at their age. Me, myself, I'm 21, so still a lot of racing for me ahead, although I don't like racing that much. Mr. Wiggles puts himself in P3, though. As we might want to go on board with Halvor, who is on a fast lap. Matt G retired from the session. He's going to be in P2 with a good lap. 132 at 2.7. He's not going to be able to beat Burley, though, today. Maybe Halvor is, who's got the fastest first sector as we speak. You've got that little purple sector 1 there on the bottom right corner. As Halvor seems to be coming into sector 2. The air is wide open as we're coming out of turn 11. A lot of curb taken there, and that was what you want to see in a racing driver. Abusing those curbs on the exits is going to give you a little better exit speed. And he doesn't want to touch the curb there, as he's not going to touch the curb on the entry either in turn 12. No, he is apparently. Beautiful corner. Oh, and he has a little snap there coming out of turn 12. Too fast on the throttle as he's not up in his time, and he's going to invalidate as well. 54 thousandths was the time he needed to beat for himself there in sector 3 to be able to improve, but that's not going to be the case. Maybe he's going to go for another one. How much ERS does he have left in the tank? Not much, and he's even using in sector 3, so that's not a good sign. Mitrandir might be up on his time here, entering sector 3 as we speak. And yes, indeed, he is. 4/10 will put him in a safe spot for P1, even outperforming his very own teammate Burley there with the qualifying over in about a second. There we go. The qualifying is over right now. Everyone is still on track, can finish their laps, but won't be able to start another one. Mitrandir entering the penultimate corner as we speak. And hopefully he's not going to have any snaps coming around the last corner, because that usually happens as well. Or an invalidation is what we've seen a couple of times. And there we go. That's that little snap I was talking about. And he's not going to be improving. Did improve 72 thousandths, but that little snap definitely costed him a couple of tenths there. Origulas up in his time, 2.4 tenths. Will not give him a position for free, though. He's got to improve a little more entering sector 3. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. 2 tenths so far. And he's one of the only guys still on track. Stienk as well, who's currently in P11. We do tend to see Stienk a little further up the grid every now and then, but he's currently entering sector 3. Is that the guy behind the Alpine driver, or is that the other driver? I cannot tell you for sure, as we're currently looking at Origulas. What is the time going to be for the Portuguese driver? As Stieng does improve on his time, 133.1. Oh, Origulas, look at that, sliding coming out of turn 18, as he does improve by 71 thousandths, but it won't be good for a position, and that will be qualifying over unless Chris Big Pro is going to improve, or Mr. Wiggles, you never know. Oh yes sir, Chris Big Pro does improve. 1 minute 32 seconds and 6/100ths of a second there, putting himself on pole for now, as Mr. Wiggles is coming into the pits, and that will be qualifying over Cox once again. Why did I call him Cox? Gox once again not qualifying in this qualifying session. He's gonna try and get a last to first challenge done. He's done it before, and maybe he's gonna do it a second or a third time. I'm not sure. I lost count of how many times he has done it already, but that's gonna be qualifying over here in Speed Force Racing. Hopefully we're gonna have a good race, a spectacular race with not many crashes, which is very unlikely around Coda. But you never know. Here are the results of the qualifying. Oh, Chris Big Pro in P1, P2 we have got Burley, in P3 we've got Maggi. Further we've got Mr. Wiggles, Mitrandir, the V-Car, Hell for Stank, Origulas, and Billy G. Now we've got Ellie, Silver Fox, Prep, Sofanico, Doran, Mopes, Simo, and Gox all the way at the back of the grid. I'm just gonna listen to the live stream real quick to see what the quality is like, and then we are ready to go for this race around Austin. Right, guys. It seems like the quality is pretty decent. Welcome to everyone who is in the qualifying, in the live stream. By the way, I see 16 people are watching the race. I do appreciate you watching the race, as we have got wet weather, and what kind of wet weather? It's pouring down rain here in Austin. Mr. Lewis in the chat says less than 1 second for first. I am happy, and I would be happy as well, because these guys in P1, P2, and P3 are absolutely mental. They're going to be fighting until the last second for that pole position and also the race win. Most likely will be one of the top 3 drivers, as they barely make any mistakes. And let's see what the strategy will be here in Austin. Usually you do tend to use a little strategy prediction. I mean, not necessarily prediction, but a switch in strategies around Austin. But that's not going to be the case here, as it's raining, it's pouring down rain, and it's just going to be the same strategy for everyone. Maybe 1 pit stop extra to go on another set of, wet tires, but as of right now, it would be a 1-stopper all the way through the race, around lap 13, 14, maybe even 15. Coming into the pits, going on to another set of wet tires, and then finish off the race on those set of wet tires. We've got a formation lap, so we're going to have to see what the positions are, who we think is going to gain a little time, who's going to, drop a couple of positions at the start. From experience, there are a couple of guys who usually tend to lose a couple of positions. Usually those are the guys that are very good during qualifying, but not necessarily very great during a race or a race start. Me, myself, and I'm a very bad race starter. Like, I race GT7 quite a bit on Wednesdays. I usually qualify top 3, top 5, and then I drop all the way to P10. Like, my race starts are the worst. Also because you try to be careful with the people around you, and the guys who gain a lot of positions usually are the guys who are most reckless. So, alright, let's have a quick look with the tires. That's going to be wet tires for everyone, as we expected. We're just going to make a little assumption on who's going to lose a bit of positions. Most likely Burley is not usually one of the better starters here. Matt G, a very good starter. Mr. Wiggles, I'm unsure. I'm unsure whether he's a good starter or not. Mitrandir, I think he's going to stay the same. The V-Car usually has pretty decent starts there. Hell for a little unlucky. Then we've got Stank, one of the unluckiest guys here in Speed Force Racing Division 3. So we might be seeing him drop in a couple of positions. Or Regulus, also a very good starter there in P9. And then we've got Billy G in P10. Dorn is all the way in P15. Not sure what he's doing up there. I mean, down there. Because he's currently in P3 in the Drivers' Championship, and this will not give him great points for that Drivers' Championship battle with Mr. Wiggles. Only 20% of it, 20 points of a difference, so we most likely will be seeing Mr. Wiggles crawl a little closer there in that Drivers' Championship battle. Still a lot of races up ahead. We're currently in round 17, so we've got about 5 to 6 races left. As I won't be here next week, so I'm not going to be able to keep track of the championship battle anymore. Let me double check with the calendar. So we're currently racing in Austin. Then we've got Mexico next week. The week after we've got Brazil. Then we've got Austria, Japan, Las Vegas, Qatar, and then to finish off the season we have got Abu Dhabi. So still plenty of races left. About 2, 4, 6 races if my calculations are right. They are not. Let me double check. 2, 4, 6, 7 races, apart from this one. So, still a lot of points for grabs. Let's say Mr. Wiggles wins every race. He's just going to be crowning himself Drivers' Championship. So, you never know. I mean, Drivers' Championship. Drivers' Champion, obviously. So, you never know. Heading into the later stages of the seasons, most guys tend to make mistakes, and that's where you're going to see a lot of fluctuating in the Drivers' Championship. As the guys are coming across the line right now, yeah, exactly. They're coming across the line because the grid is ahead of the finish line, which is not usually something you see very often. So I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and then we are ready to rumble. Matt G just got disqualified, so all the heating of the tires has done nothing for the Williams drivers. Williams driver, because Origilas is still on the grid. Ellie also got a disqualification, and apart from that, we are ready to race here in Speed Force Racing. Today, we are around COTA, one of the more famous tracks in USA. as it's going to be 5 red lights for the guys on the grid as we speak. And away we go, and a good start there from the Alpine driver who's already going to bump up a position. Look at that, Mr. Wiggles. They're going 3 wide, are they not? Yes, indeed, Mr. Wiggles. This is going to take P2. Down the inside goes the Alpine driver, as it seems like Chris Big Pro retakes P1 there, as Burley made a little mistake coming out of turn 1. Matt G keeping it ahead of Mr. Wiggles, as it seems like it's a little bit squirky here in the midfield. Chris Big Pro with a 3-second time penalty. Also, Aurigulas bumping up a couple of positions. Let me just double check with the position changes. As I said, a good start once again from Aurigulas, the V-car who drops back to P7. And once again, one of the more unluckiest drivers here in Speed Force Racing. Stieng dropping 10 positions all the way from P8 to P18. Billy G making an overtake on the V-Carb driver. No, it's Silver Fox around the outside. A little tap there from Billy G. Letting Silver Fox know, you know, buddy, you cannot get past me easily. He's going to let him go through. That is the V-Car down the inside. And the guys won't be able to use the DRS here down the straight, as obviously that is a very dangerous thing to do, to give the guys the DRS. Aurigulas and Halvor side by side, as it's going to be Aurigulas down the inside in turn 13. He's not going to leave too much room for the Kick Sauber driver, and I wouldn't do that either. Here comes Halvor down the inside. Aurigulas was trying to go down the inside, but he backed out of it. As there is a yellow flag in Sector 3, that is most likely a driver who crashed out. Although I don't see anyone who's significantly a lot of time behind the other drivers. Let's go on board with Billy G here, who's having a battle with the V-Car. And I know for sure that the V-Car is not happy with that start. 6 positions lost. He even lost 7 a couple of minutes earlier, but he bumped up a position back again in P12. You might want to go on board with Matt G here, who's on the tail of Burley. Through the S's, you won't be able to make an overtake, so I'm afraid Matt G is going to have to stick in that toe of Burley a little longer. But as soon as they reach the straight, look at Chris Big Pro with that 3-second time penalty, already 2 seconds ahead of Burley, as Matt G is losing the toe of Burley as well. So we're going to be seeing gaps forming here at the front of the field. Now Brab is having it a bit more difficult than Burley, because he's got a Red Bull driver right behind him. 4 tenths for Dorn on prep. And it seems like Aurigulas once again finds himself in a Kick Sauber sandwich. Now, from experience, Canada, for example, last week in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, we did see a Kick Sauber team that was not the cleanest. As you can see there, Dorn down the inside. Prep is not going to give up, though. Better exit for the Kick Sauber driver. And we're absolutely seeing nothing, because this game is ass. Prep makes it up ahead of Dorn back into P8. And we've got a little battle here for P10 as well. Billy G is finding his way into the top 10. Gogs with a move down the inside. Beautiful overtake there from Gogs, who has already bumped up 6 positions so far in this race with only 2 laps in. Oh, and Chris Big Pro loses the car. What happened to the Mercedes driver? He's in the wall. It won't be a safety car, but it will be a virtual safety car. Lost his front wing and now has to make a comeback race work. And once again, a lot of drama for the Mercedes team, as Tiang dropped a lot of positions. So did Chris Big Pro. And this won't be good for the Mercedes team, as I said before. As right now, the battle is on for P1 in this race. We will be racing once again pretty soon, as it's only a VSC, which will only take about half a lap maybe. Entering lap 3 as we speak, 28 laps in total for the guys, as Craig Big Pro gets a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Is he going to come into the pits? I would assume he does. And Silver Fox will as well. Chris Big Pro with the retirement from the session. He's going to be furious with that little crash. Most likely it was a known mistake. It was a personal, a self-made mistake, as he was 2 seconds ahead of Burley. So I don't see Burley gain about 2 seconds in half a lap. As you're coming through Sector 1, and look at how slidey their cars are coming through the S's. And that's where you need that downforce to be able to keep your car through the S's on track, obviously. And that is most likely the mistake that Chris Big Pro has made today. Not too much downforce on the car. A good exit there from the Williams driver. He's going back into the slipstream of Burley. And from POV mode, this game looks way better during the rain. Look at that. At least you can see something on track. Look at this. This is awful. It looks like it's a big smoke behind the cars or something. No, it's rain and it's water drops. Everyone in the top 10 has gained a position, as it's looking like Gox is finding his way into the top 9 with a move on Ellie. And also Billy G finds his way into the top 10. Around the outside he goes of Gox a little deep into the corner, as he most likely got a warning for that mistake. Now a yellow flag in sector 2. That will be the Red Bull car, the V-Carb driver, Silver Fox. There's also a big battle going on here for P13 with Stefanico, Simo, John Mopes, and maybe Stienk, who just got overtaken by the McLaren driver. Look at how John Mopes is sliding through turn 15 there. Beautifully done. Daniel in the chat says, bold strategy from Chris. Retire on lap 3 and get 0 points. It could be onto something there. Yes, indeed. I mean, Chris Big Pro was having a good race and obviously had a good qualifying. Is doing pretty decent in the Drivers' Championship. The problem is that Mercedes now loses a lot of points during their Constructors' battle. And look at how Mitrandir and Burley are doing. Currently in P1 and P4, that's going to be an amazing amount of points for the Haas team, with Mercedes currently only scoring points from P15. So this is not a good sign for Mercedes. Obviously a better sign for Haas, as they're going to be even strengthening their very own position. And also Burley taking Matt G with him to the lead of the race. Mr. Wiggles, who cannot keep up with these two ahead of him, as Halvor finds his way past Mitrandir. Down the slipstream he goes. Oh, and he's going to go down the inside. Is he going to back out of it? Seems like it. Mitrandir touching the brakes a little later. Oh, no, Halvor is going to go for it anyway. Look at that. Halvor not giving up, and he's ahead of Mitrandir. Good braking strategy from Halvor coming into turn 12. It looks like he was going to be braking a little earlier, but then all of a sudden Mitrandir touched the brakes aggressively. Halvor went down the inside, and he made up a position. Beautifully done by the Kick Sauber driver. And once again, the Kick Sauber is doing a great job keeping their cars on track, keeping it consistent as Prep finds his way past Doran as well, as there's 2 drivers within the top 7 right now for Kick Sauber. Billy G, doing a pretty good job maintaining his position. But then on the other side, you can see Doran, who qualified only in P15, currently in P8, 7 positions gained. Although he's got Gox behind him, and that is a very dangerous person to be in front of. Obviously Gox, who's trying to make a last to first challenge work. Once again, he's done it before this season. It's looking like it's going to be a little more difficult for the Aston Martin driver today, because obviously you cannot have the benefit of the strategy. It's gonna be your performance in the rain and obviously on these tires, as Billy G gets a 3-second time penalty, so that will be an extra position for Gox. Although Billy G finds himself behind the Aston Martin driver, so not too much of an effect there for Gox. Now let's go on board with Dorn, who is right behind Prep, and that's going to be a 3-way battle for P6. Aurigulas holding up strong there, 3 positions gained so far, found his way into the top 6. And he's keeping it strong. He's doing a good job keeping these guys behind him. It's a little ERS train, a little slipstream train there, but it's obviously not as powerful as the DRS. So I don't see anyone making an overtake on Aurigulas anytime soon. Aurigulas really strong through the corners. As you can see there, keeping Prep behind him in turn 12. And let's see what the Portuguese driver can do here in sector 3. Or maybe Prep finding his way into the top 6. A little mistake there from Aurigulas going onto the curb into turn 13, 14 that was. As this is turn 15 obviously. Into turn 16 they go. That will be a long right-hander, and you will tend to see a lot of guys crash coming into this corner because the tires are overheated, and especially here in the wet tire conditions, you need to keep your tires cooled down, and that's not usually going to be the case for the guys being on a long stint on these wet tires. So let's see whether anyone is going to crash into turn 16. I hope nobody is going to crash, but you never know, as those will bring out the safety car, and you don't want to see those in a very exciting race between Maggi and Burley. Here comes Halvor with a pretty good exit out of turn 1. Tried to go around the outside to then go down the inside in turn 4. But he backed out of it again. But he's on a good streak. Look at that. Not too far from the lead of the race. As that will only be about 2 to 3 seconds right now. So if he can work together with Mr. Wiggles and Mitrandir, he might be able to find himself into the top 3 anytime soon. But I think Mitrandir will do something about that. Obviously, because his teammate is currently in a 2-way battle rather than a 5-way battle for the lead of the race. Let's go on board with Doran here as he's trying to go down the inside. And will Doran now do a prep on prep himself? It doesn't seem like it. No, it was Halvor or Mitrandir, wasn't it? Yes, indeed. Earlier we saw... Oh, no, it was not through that braking zone. It was through this one, turn 12. But he's not going down the inside. He's not going to outbrake himself like Halvor did with a beautiful move. I do have to mention that. Currently entering lap 7 out of the 28, so still plenty of racing to go. What I do love about the rainy conditions is that all of the guys tend to stay closer to each other because they... Oh, look at that! The Aston Martin with an aggressive move. What a move from Gox. He saw a gap down the inside and he went for it, although he has to yield, giving back that position to the Red Bull driver. And I do know what Gox is up to. Oh, look at that. Around the outside he goes. That is an aggressive move by Gox and a really risky one. And he keeps the position. Look at that. Gox up into P8. Now here's the thing. What I wanted to say was that Gox doesn't find himself comfortable within those two. I mean, in between those two Red Bull drivers. They tend to be a little pushy. I mean, not necessarily pushy as in contact, but pushy as in impatient. You know, they want to get past you as soon as possible. The other guy might be working against you. The other guy might try to overtake you. All of that. It's definitely a Red Bull culture there in that Red Bull team, and that's what I admire about Doran and Billy G as well. They work together really well to try and keep the position, you know, get the other guy to make that overtake as well. Here, that's what I'm talking about. Doran has been right behind Gox for about a whole sector within that slipstream, within that 3 seconds, 3/10. And now Billy G is also trying to mingle in between those two, so we're definitely going to be seeing an overtake here from Doran if Gox cannot take that slipstream off Preb in front of him. Now let's have a quick look here with Halvor. Is he going to go for a move down the inside? No, around the outside. Takes a lot of curb, possibly with a switchback. No, a little tap there on the rear of Mr. Wiggles, who parked his car perfectly on the curb. And that's no overtaking opportunity for Halvor there, so he's got to wait a little more. And let's go on board with Doran here as it seems like Gox is trying to find his way around the Portuguese driver. And I'm pretty sure, look at that, once again the same move as he's almost taken out Prep there, but goes around the outside, loses the car a little bit, as I think he's going to get overtaken by Doran right now. Is Doran going to do a Gox like Gox did before on Doran? No, it doesn't seem like it. Once again, that outside line in turn 16 seems to be more powerful. So Doran down the inside into the penultimate corner. Though Gox has a better exit, obviously. Billy G now makes his way into the top 9 with an overtake on his very own teammate. So apart from that, we are not looking at anything interesting. Ellie about 4 seconds behind this little group of 5 people, so we won't be seeing Ellie into the top 10 anytime soon. Sofanico is on the tail of Simo as well, about 8/10 between those two, so we got to keep our eyes closed on that one. And maybe Halvor here once again on the tail of Mr. Wiggles, so I'm just going to take a quick sip of water because my throat is getting a little dry. And they are indeed catching up to Burley, so we might be looking at a 4-way battle for the lead of the race. Mitrandir not able to keep up with Halvor and Mr. Wiggles. Their pace is a little better than the Haas driver. As that little group in the midfield having an intense battle, but it doesn't seem like any position changes are currently due. Now, Matt G into Sector 3. It's... You know, here's the thing, though. he's just stuck behind Burley. There's no overtaking opportunity in the wet weather conditions if the guy ahead of you is a little faster through Sector 1. That's just a fact. Because here's the thing, if the guy ahead of you is faster down the straight in Sector 2, you're not going to be able to make an overtake. If he has better, I mean, obviously, if you're faster in Sector 2, you're not going to be better in Sector 3. But Mr. Wiggles comes across the line with a 151.8, as that seems like it's drying up right now, based on that track. Well, I mean, on that lap time, obviously. Xiang now with a 151.7. So it seems like he's having a very good comeback race. Find himself all the way in P18 at some point. Currently in P11. So that's only 3 positions lost compared to his qualifying position. So not a bad race at all, as he might want to get back at Dorn, Billy G, Gox there to get back into that top 7. Martin in the chat says Burley is quicker in Sector 1 and Garrett is quicker in Sector 3. As that might be true. That might be true indeed. Here comes Matt G down the straight. Garrett needs indeed a good Sector 1. And it seemed like that was a very good Sector 1 there. He was right up the tail of Burley. Now the problem is, when you want to make an overtake in Sector 2, you really need to be within that slipstream and most likely have the DRS or use your ERS. Now the ERS does charge up quite a bit during wet conditions. Now it doesn't seem like Matt G can really get that pace coming out of turn 11. And that's where he's really losing an opportunity into turn 12 to make an overtake. And now, as you mentioned before, Martin, he's better in Sector 3, but there's no real good overtaking opportunities in Sector 3, unlike Sector 2, for example, in turn 12. And especially during the wet tire conditions, it's a little riskier because you might be missing on your braking point, bowling the guy off track, and that's not what you want to be doing here. So no DRS opportunity once again for Matt G. Ellie gets a 3-second time penalty. Down the straight they go. Will Matt G go around the outside? No, he's nowhere close to Burley. Now, Mr. Wiggles not necessarily keeping up with the pace of Matt G and Burley. I mean, they're kind of the same pace, but that doesn't give them an opportunity to make an overtake, and especially with Halvor on his tail, it's not going to be easy to get back to the top 2. Gox now with a 3-second time penalty, so we might want to go on board with our Aston Martin driver, who's once again stuck behind Aurigulas. Although it seems like Prep find his way past the Portuguese driver, so that is a good overtake by the Kicksauber driver. Now, let's have a look here with Dorn, who seems to have made an overtake. Oh man, Gox with an overtake down the inside. Oh, and now it's Aurigulas. Look at that. Prep loses 2 positions in the same corner. And that is not a corner where you usually tend to see overtakes from the guys. Mr. Wiggle caught up to the top 2. So we're going to be seeing a 4-way battle for the lead of the race as Prep loses another position there. Another position on both the Red Bull drivers, although they're going side by side as it seems. Prep dropping from P6 all the way to P10 just because one corner was a little bit of a mistake there by Prep. Now let's go on board with the top guys again, as Mitrandir definitely couldn't keep up with the position, with the pace there. Aurigulas finding his way back into the top 6, and now he's going to be the one around the outside. You want to be around the outside in the long right-hander as well, and I think he's going to be in the right spot for that overtake. Gox not giving up though. Gox not giving up. Now he's going to be around the outside, and I think that will be the better position to be in that long right-hander. That's to watch out though. A little snap there from Aurigulas, and now it's going to be the Red Bull driver trying to find his way in the middle of the field. In the middle of the 2 drivers there. A little snap once again from Gox and Aurigulas coming out of turn 17. Now let's go on board with Matt G and Burley here again. Mr. Wiggles losing a bit of time in Sector 3. Although I think he's going to gain a lot of time again in Sector 1. And that's the kind of play you have to play here in Formula 1 around Austin, obviously. Austria. You know what, this is making me kind of confused. You've got Australia, you've got Austin, and then you've got Austria. So it's a little messing my head up. But apart from that, it seems to be a fabulous race here with not too many crashes, which is what I'm quite surprised about. You do tend to see a lot of guys DNF, crash into each other, whatever. It's just not happening. We only saw one VSC And after 11 laps, I think we can keep up this streak here in Division 3. We didn't see a report either last week. And we do tend to see, well, I mean, we do love to see that happen again here around Austin in wet tire conditions. So, Aurigulas in the battle with Dorn there, coming out of turn 11. This is now the battle we're looking at here. 3 drivers battling for P1. Now, Burley is just in the right spot. His tires are not overheating. He's not having any dirty air. He just can drive to drive, and he can do the strategy whatever he likes. Matt G and Mr. Wiggles, you know, they've been behind each other, or I mean, at least behind a car for a very long time. That's going to make your tires overheat a little bit more and most likely wear down a little bit heavier. So Matt G and Mr. Wiggles, we might be seeing them coming into the pits a lap earlier than Burley. Just so, yeah, so they have track position maybe, because you can see Burley right now in the lead of the race for a lot of laps already, and Matt G just can't figure how to get past Burley. So maybe if Matt G comes into the pits a lap earlier, he's going to have the track advantage over Burley, and then it's going to be roles reversed. Matt G, who's going to be in the lead of the race. Burley, who cannot figure to get past Matt G there. Look at Matt G once again, very strong in Sector 1. Just, it seems like the tires are sliding a little bit coming through the S's right now. Burley, oh, and Prep retired from the session. Did he crash? No, he retired in the pit lane. This might be some technical issues for the Kick Sauber driver, because he lost a lot of positions like a couple of laps ago, and now DNFing in the pit lane is unlike the Kick Sauber driver. Now let's have a look here with Matt G. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Burley has such a strong exit coming out of turn 11. And look at that, Matt G even dropping out of the second. It might be more of a danger behind than in front of him. Mr. Wiggles with a lot of straight line speed. He's not going to make that overtake, but it's looking like he's going to try to make an overtake in Sector 3. Is he going to go down the inside? What is this camera angle? Nobody wants to look at this. You cannot see anything. What is this? And when I switch, it's going to... Oh, man. This is bad. The F1 game is bad, guys. For commentators, it's not ideal either. And it's going to stick to this. Oh, fair enough. Thank you. At the back of the field, we're also looking at a battle. I didn't see that coming, but Simo, John Mopes, and Sofanico are currently battling for P13. Now, Simo had a pretty decent race with 4 positions gained. Now, you gotta think that all the drivers behind are actually DNF'd, apart from John Mopes and Sofanico then. So, yes, it's a lot of positions gained, but then on the other side, on the other hand, I mean, you gain 3 positions with guys who DNF'd, so Simo, keep up the good pace, girl. I mean, I was gonna say dude, but girl, come on. Aurigulas and Mitrandir are coming into the pits. They're gonna use the strategy that I said, coming into the pits earlier to have track positions on the guys that were ahead of him. Now, he just needs to have a really good outlap. Now, let's see how much ERS he has saved, because that's going to play a big role. Doesn't have too much save. Now, in my opinion, it would have been smarter to, last lap of course, save a little ERS, which you can drain now down the straight, because you won't be having that slipstream. Now, that's not on Aurigulas' list here. He's just trying to get past Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3 as good as possible, and then just hope he's going to be ahead of everyone else. Now, let's focus on the top 3 real quick, as that's going to be Mr. Wiggles, Matt G, and Burley. Once again, it seems like they're just patient. They're going to wait for the guys to make a mistake, and I don't think that is too crazy of a thought, if I'm being honest. Just wait for their tires to wear out. Obviously, you're running the same strategy, but guys like Mr. Wiggles know how to keep their tires at the good temperature, and most likely have better tire wear than the other guys. So Burley coming into the pits. Willie coming into the pits to cover for that undercut. Yes, indeed. There we go. Burley coming into the pits. He was afraid that guys were going to undercut him, so he's just going to undercut himself. With Halvor also coming into the pits, they will be entering lap 14 out of the 28. So we're halfway past this race. A lot of action to be continued. as John Mopes finds his way in P14. So Fanico dropped a lot of positions, most likely came into the pits already, as Burley and Halvor are gonna drop back to P7 with John Mopes now down the inside. Oh, he had a little touch there with Simo, now with a switchback. Oh, Simo, oh yeah, beautiful move there from John Mopes. He knew that Simo was gonna make a mistake. No, Simo was gonna go back at him down the inside. I think that was a little bit too optimistic by the Ferrari driver, as you don't tend to see him move into the last corner, but she did it anyways. Stank into the top 15. A good race from the Mercedes driver so far, after once again a very unlucky start of the race. Billy G with a 3-second time penalty. Cut the corner there, heading into turn 10. So might want to go on board with the V car. Simo with another 3-second time penalty there in P14. That is not going to do her well, obviously, because she's in a battle with John Mopes for P13. And the V car in the slipstream of Ellie, and this has to be a fair battle between the V car and Ellie. I feel like the V car hasn't been here for a couple of races, but he still has the qualities of a good racing driver who's currently P2 in the Drivers' Championship, and he's gonna do it. He's oh no, Mercedes was in P2, never in P3 in the constructors. It was Alpine who was in P2 for the constructors. So let me just double check here. Mitra and Deer drop back to P11 with Matt G and Mr. Wiggles both coming into the pits right now. Let's see where they're gonna end up and then how much time they lost compared to Burley and Halvor. Burley, who is in the middle of nowhere, so that's a good sign for the Haas driver, because that means he doesn't have any dirty air. Well, let's focus on Burley here. He's already coming across the pit lane. And where are Mr. Wiggles and Matt G? It seems like they're ahead. No, they're not ahead. It's going to be... No, they're going to be ahead. Matt G keeping it ahead of Burley. And that is not a good sign. There was still a lot of life in those tires. And that's there you have it. You can see the pace difference between Matt G and Burley here. And, oh, Burley is going to try to go down the inside. No, he's backing out of it. His tires are already heated, though. But Matt G's tires are still cold, so he's going to be struggling coming through Sector 3. Now, let's see what Burley can do down the straight. It seemed like Burley had a little more straight line speed in the last couple of laps. But let's see if that reflects here down the second main straight. The top two currently still has the penalty, though. That's not going to get removed, so... Apart from that, we are not looking at anyone making a move on anyone else. Maybe Halvor here on the straight. Into the slipstream he goes, and a late break by the Kick Sauber driver. Is he going to make up that position? Seems like it. Oh, and he pushes Mr. Wiggles quite far off track. Is he going to give back that position? Doesn't seem like it. Halvor is going to keep it in P5. No, Mr. Wiggles is going to come back at him again. Back at him again. Oh my god. Never mind. Mr. Wiggles back into P5 with a beautiful overtake. And I think actually that Halvor gave back that position because he was so slow coming out of turn 14. Matt G in the lead of the race. He's right behind Billy G, but obviously Billy G is going to come into the pits to put on a new set of tires. Gox with 8 seconds ahead of Matt G might be going for a no stopper. You never know. Might be going for a no stopper, and that would be insane. He's losing a lot of time though. Even down the straight he's losing time, so that means he had a bad exit out of the last corner, which means his tires are going to be a little more slidey coming through sector 1. And let's see how much time he's going to lose here in sector 1. It's going to be a tenth or two. About 2 tenths. No, about 1 tenth. He's even gaining time. Look at that. No. Then again, he's losing time. It's fluctuating. It's fluctuating. You never know what to expect. And he didn't... he lost about 2 tenths there. 2 tenths for Gox in 1 sector. So it's looking great for Gox. He is about 8 seconds ahead. So that is about... in 12 laps, you need to gain... about 7 tenths maybe. So it's not done yet for Gox. If he can keep up this pace, he might be able to win this race with a no stopper. Although I don't know whether the strategy and the tire life holds it. if anyone can give me that information. I'm not a racing driver, so I have no idea on the tire wear, especially in the wet weather conditions. Can the wet tires hold up till the end of the race? 12 more laps to go. Sorry, by the way, guys, I just had a little a little sip of water. Gawk's in the pits right now. He's not gonna do a full race on the same set of wet tires. I personally thought it was going to make a last to first challenge work, but he's gonna end up right behind Halfor, maybe even Mitrandir. It's gonna be behind Mitrandir, I'm afraid. Dropping back to P6, but you gotta think of the comeback race he had after a no qualifying. 12 positions gained, and he's got that penalty though, which was actually not good for a no stopper, because obviously you were gonna lose 5 seconds on all tires, so a little unfortunate. But then on the other hand, you can wait. I gotta sneeze. 1 second. Alright, my apologies, lads. So, on the other hand, you have got Maggi, who's taking a lead of about 2 seconds on Burley. So, this does indicate that Maggi had a lot more pace than Burley. He was just not able to make that overtake down the straights, into the corners, anywhere. He's just faster in Sector 1 and Sector 3. That is a fact. Burley might have a little more straight line speed. I think Burley is faster in Sector 1, as you mentioned, Martin, but I think not as significant as Maggi is faster in Sector 3 compared to Burley. You might be seeing Burley lose a lot of time here in Sector 3. Let's have a look here. He entered Sector 3 with about a 2-second gap. It will most likely shrink to 1.9, 1.8. And then coming into the next lap, it's going to bump back up to 2.2, maybe even 2.3. Let's have a look here. Yeah, 2.2, 2.3. So it's quite noticeable that Maggi has better exits out of the corners. Here's the thing. Maggi has better exits out of the corners. Burley just has more straight line speed. So we're going to see the guys switch in times, in intervals, quite a bit coming out of a corner, but also down the straight. So here we've got Burley once again losing a bit of time, entering a corner, but then coming through the S's, he's going to have a little more pace. Now let's go back to turn 11, for example, where Maggi is coming through a low speed corner. He's going to gain time coming out of the corner, but then down the straight, he's going to lose a lot of time again on Burley, who has more straight line speed. Now you can see that Maggi has a little more speed coming through Sector 1. He's a little more comfortable entering Sector 1 there. And let's see. So Maggi, yeah, as you can see, Maggi gaining a lot of time there in entering turn 11, exiting turn 11 as well. And then Burley gains a lot of time down the straight again. So that is a quick analysis we made there. Now let's go on board with Billy G and Aurigulas, who are currently in a heated battle, entering the long straight. Now it will be Billy G in the slipstream of the Portuguese driver. Does have a penalty though, so all Aurigulas has to do is just keep it within 3 seconds of Billy G, and he will be able to get that P9 position. He shouldn't be afraid of Ellie, who's 10 seconds behind, and also currently in a heated battle with the V-Car as they're coming down the straight as we speak. The V-Car with a unlucky race. You can't really blame him. He's been having an off day, which everyone has every now and then, so hopefully we're going to be seeing him back into the top 10 anytime soon. And let's go on board with Gox here, currently in P6. Has a penalty though, which he'll have to make up for. I don't think it's going to happen. He's going to be behind Mitrandir for quite some time, and then most likely make that overtake in the last couple of laps, but you're not going to make a distance of about 3 seconds on Mitrandir. Mr. Wiggles caught up to Burley. Burley is struggling. Look at that. How much time Mr. Wiggles has gained in the last couple of laps. Gox as well here. Oh, and Mitrandir is around in turn 1. That is not a good sign for the Haas team, as Burley isn't going to be scoring. I mean, obviously it's not bad because Burley is scoring a decent amount of points right now. Gox spun him around. He's going to let him go through. That is good sportsmanship-like driving from Gox, who made himself drop to P8, giving back that position. So beautifully done by Gox. Eventually punishing himself rather than the stewards have to punish him. So we won't be seeing any reports from Mitrandir, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't necessarily think they're going to give him a penalty either, because Cox gave that position for free. Sofanico and John Mopes are having a battle there, entering Sector 1. As it will be Sofanico ahead of John Mopes, but I don't think that will last for too long, as John Mopes is right up that ass. Look at him twerking there, Sofanico, right in the curbs. And that was most likely a very inappropriate thing to say, but I don't really care. As John Mopes is dropping out of that 1 second, heading into Sector 2. Let's see if it's going to last. No, the first part of Sector 2. John Mopes is a little faster. He's going to ride that slipstream down the straight and then gain a lot of time once again. An awkward line entering turn 11 there from John Mopes. Although he's going to gain that position again. No, he's lost a lot of time. Let's go on board with Mr. Wiggles here. Riding the curb on the exit of turn 18. As they're currently entering lap 20 out of 28. It's a very long race here as well in Austin. The track is very long. The laps take a lot of time, and it's raining as well. So we've got about 1 minute and 50 seconds per lap, and that's going to take an easy 45 to 1 hour race. So we're currently already streaming for about an hour and 6 minutes. It's going to take at least, let's say, 20 more minutes, so we're going to be finishing around, let's say 9 o'clock for you guys. No, 10 o'clock for you guys. No, 9 o'clock for you guys. Yeah, 9 o'clock for you guys. Billy G, 3 seconds of a time penalty. Once again, I think that's his second penalty so far, as we might have to focus on a penalty. Why do I have these position changes on the screen for so long anyway? Gox with a 3 second. We've got Billy G with 9. And we've got Ellie with 3 and Simo with 3 as well. Billy G on the tail of Aurigelas as well, as it doesn't seem like Mr. Wiggles can find his way around Burley anytime soon. Burley with an awkward exit out of turn 12. Mr. Wiggles was possibly looking for a switchback, but it was Burley who had a pretty decent exit out of turn 12. Now, we saw that Burley was struggling entering and exiting the corners. Now let's see what Mr. Wiggles is able to do out of the corners. A little snap there from Mr. Wiggles. Has to recover a little bit and how do you say that? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Control his car. Yeah, it might be that. Control his car a little bit. Adjust. That's the word I was looking for. Adjust the car heading into the long right-hander. And down the straight we go. The guys are not able to use the DRS once again, obviously, because it's pouring down rain, and it would be a dangerous situation if the guys are then able to use the DRS, because you know why. It's gonna make their cars go left to right. We saw that in Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. When you use a lot of DRS in the tunnel section of Monaco, you're easily gonna lose the car. And that's what they want to prevent here in... Does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter. Beautiful switchback from Wiggles. Is he going to make up a position? Oh, cut the corner there a little bit too much. Down the inside goes Wiggles. Is he going to go for it? Yes, indeed, he's going to go for it. With a late break from the LP driver, but also a late break from Burley. Is Mr. Wiggles going to keep up that position? Doesn't seem like it. Look at the pace down the straight from Burley. Once again, a good exit. I mean, good straight line speed from Burley. Now here comes Mr. Wiggles again around the outside. Is he going to go for it? Seems like it, as they're heading into turn 12. And Halvor is gaining a lot of time as well. A little snap there from Burley coming into turn 12. As look at where they are on track. Just fully cut the corner there. And Halvor says, hello, boys. I want to have some of this as well. Halvor cannot be patient enough to make that overtake. I mean, impatient enough to make that overtake. A little snap there in Sector 1 there. That was Sofanico and John Mopes who had a little collision with each other. Simo back into the top 13. Now look at this, a three-way battle all of a sudden for P2. And I'm happy to see Halvor here. He's been improving week in, week out. He's not one of the cleanest drivers. I mean, not necessarily dirty either, but we've seen some things happening from the Norwegian driver. But from what I'm seeing right now, it's looking like a very clean race from Halvor. So keep up the good job, Halvor. Up into P3 he goes. And that's Burley out of the top 3 all of a sudden. And that is something I wouldn't have expected, because he's one of the more consistent guys. Always keeps a position that he's managed to capture later at a later stage during a race. So I'm quite surprised to see him drop down to P4, especially struggling in the wet tire condition. Maybe it's just not his type of races. Maybe the combination with Austin, a lot of S's, and the wet tires aren't doing the job. Maybe it's not wet enough. Maybe it's not dry enough. You never know what goes through the mind of a racing driver. A little snap as well from Halvor. Preben Jensen in the chat says Halvor on wet and controller, what a driver. And I do have to mention, the guys who are on controller right now seem to be having a lot of pace. You know, you've got Aurelius, who is usually not in the top 10 during a race. He's in the top 10 right now, and he's having a good race. Halvor as well. Wet tires. Oh, almost lost the car there. Almost lost the car again. He has to watch out, and so does Burley. Burley even losing more time. This is not a good sign for the Haas driver. He even dropped out of the 1 second if Halvor didn't make that mistake. He dropped out of the 1 second. Look at that. Even with the mistake of Halvor, he dropped out of the 1 second. And look at how much Matt G is ahead. Currently in P1. It's just unfair of how much speed he had at the beginning of those new wet tire stints. It's just crazy. Look at that, 6.7 seconds. While Halvor and Wiggles are having a very big battle with each other. Not necessarily able to make an overtake on each other. It's just the fact that they keep it clean and close through Sector 1 and Sector 2. And Sector 3. We haven't seen any crashes. We haven't seen any incidents. Although, coming out of Turn 12, we did see some interesting driving from the both of them. But that was obviously the driver from the inside who pushed the other driver wide, who tried to avoid contact. So you gotta watch out with those moves. If those happen frequently, you might be looking at a penalty. Now Halvor is gonna go back into the slipstream. He has a decent amount of straight line speed, but Mr. Wiggles keeps the inside line. This time around, it will be Halvor with a switchback. Halvor with a switchback. Look at that. And now he's side by side. Not necessarily around the outside he goes. He's got his wheel around the outside, but oh, look at that, Halvor. Is he gonna shove it down the inside? Doesn't look like it. Backs out of it, and he just needs to wait for another opportunity to make an overtake. Now, I'm really wondering, wouldn't it be good if we switched on to the intermediates right now? Because there seem to be dry lines forming on the track. Mr. Wiggles, who goes wide, coming into turn 17, and that is most likely to keep your tires at the right temperature. Now we're once again having a good battle there all the way at the bottom of the grid between P13, 14 and 15, and that is Simo, Sofanico and John Moos. And they've been having a battle for quite some time now. Sofanico doesn't have a penalty, as we're looking at Halvor here around the outside. Maybe a switchback from the Norwegian driver. Oh man, no way. Mr. Wiggles gets a 3-second time penalty coming out of turn 1, and that's going to be case closed. I would say it's going to be case closed. Halvor, who's going to take B2, and maybe even Burley, who's going to grab B3. That's a big penalty for Mr. Wiggles, and the outcome is even going to be bigger and worse for the Alpine driver, I'm afraid. Maybe if he can keep up the pace and cause Halvor and Burley to have a battle with each other, which I think actually is going to be the case. Look at that, Burley catching up, trying to keep within those 3 seconds of Mr. Wiggles, trying to secure his P3. But obviously, if Halvor and Burley are going to make it difficult for each other, they're going to be seeing Mr. Wiggles drive away and drive away fast. There's 4 or 5 more laps to go. as we might want to focus on that on that bottom 3 drivers real quick, as John Mopes on the tail of Sofanico. Obviously, this is going to be a battle of who can keep it within the track limits, because Sofanico currently doesn't have a penalty yet, so if he keeps it within the track limits, he's going to be getting P13. But apart from that, I don't see any big position changes there at the back of the field. And the guys here at the front of the field are seeing Maggi even running away further. So it's going to be a three-way battle indeed. You don't know how many warnings everyone has. And that's going to be a big... I mean, it's not going to be easy for me as a commentator, because you don't know what to expect. Halvor could have 2 warnings, or you could have 0. And then you're hoping for a warning, an extra warning, which will give him a penalty. And then once he gets past that, I mean, over that curb, you know, cutting the corners, you're saying like, oh, he gets a penalty, and then you're like, oh no, it doesn't show up on screen, so it's not going to be a penalty, I'm afraid. And then you got to wait for another one. And there we got it, 3-second time penalty. The commentator's curse is real. Once again, Burley into the top 2 again. And this is going to be a no good for Mr. Wiggles. I mean, neither for Halvor. I mean, the both of them kept it so clean, making that overtake on Burley. And then Burley is just going to say at the end of the race, haha, I told you guys. You guys know that? I don't know if you guys watch The Simpsons. There's this one guy who says, ha ha. Yeah, whenever something funny happens or like annoying happens. Yeah, it's that little guy with the blue trunk and the blue sweater. I don't know. I don't even know what he wears. He's got brown hair. The little guy, the bully guy. Yeah, quite funny. That's going to be Burley at the end of the race. If he doesn't get a penalty, of course. If he does get a penalty, it would make the things a little more interesting. And so does the V-Car still make things interesting here to enter the top 11. I mean, he's going to enter the top 11 anyway. But if he can work together with Ellie, they might be able to get back into the top 10 there, as Aurigula seemed to be struggling. Let's go back on board with Burley and Halvor. Mr. Wiggles, who's crawling away slowly. He's slowly but steady. Hopefully that's going to be the story of his life here. They're entering lap 26 out of the 28. Three more laps to go. 1 second is not going to be enough for Mr. Wiggles. You just got to have a little more pace here. Daniel in the chat says, Wiggles stroking his magic pet whip it for Halvor to get a penalty. There we go. Daniel once again a spot on remark in the chat. It seems like Maggi is also losing a bit of time there in sector 1. He dropped from 7 seconds to 6.1, so maybe he has made a little mistake. Does that mean the tires are overheating? Does that mean he's struggling on the old wet tires? You never know, but I think it's very unlikely to see Mr. Wiggles gain that time again on Maggi there. Let's go on board with Halvor, who's... Yeah, it's just going to be the story of this race. The guys trying to make an overtake and they just can't find their way around the guy ahead of him. It's just difficult around Austin, not having the DRS and not necessarily having good tires to make a move either. It's just everyone is struggling. Everyone have got to find the right braking zone. Everyone has got to keep their concentration, because it's been a long race. We've been racing for about an hour already. It's just insane of how long these races take, and the cars are getting worse. The cars are, the situations aren't getting better either. You know, you're battling for a P2 right now, but there's still 3 more laps to go, and you don't even know whether the guy behind you is going to get a penalty or not. So you're keeping on pushing, and it's just insane of how many people have kept it clean here. Simo now with a 3-second time penalty. She's got 6 seconds in total so far. Now Maggi is indeed struggling, as he lost another 3 tenths last lap. And as I said before at the beginning of this race, a rainy race is not usually a commentator's wish, because it's a boring race, commentating in the rain. And I'm gonna be honest, this race wasn't that exciting either, as we usually tend to have in a dry race. Although maybe Halvor can do something about that. Around the outside he goes, yes, and he brakes really late. Look at that. Mr. Wiggles keeps the inside line, goes, might be a little damage there from Halvor, but that could help him down the straight. Into the slipstream goes the Kicksauber driver. Is he going to go around the outside? No, look at that straight line speed from Mr. Wiggles. Just keeps the car ahead of Halvor. A really late break there from Halvor. Mr. Wiggles, who is not going to force him wide this time around. But Halvor still has the inside line. Look at that. Up into P2 goes Halvor. Beautifully done. Mr. Wiggles with a switchback. That's going to be Mr. Wiggles back into P2. He said, you know, you're going to go down the inside. Halvor now with a really wide line coming into turn 15. And he keeps that position. Look at that. Halvor up into P2 with a not necessarily aggressive move, but definitely a very optimistic move. But he made it work. It was a battle through 3 or 4 corners, and that's very unlikely to see these days. With the guys keeping it clean for that long, heading into lap 27, 28 even, with Matt G losing no time. So that's going to be Matt G into the last lap, and hopefully we're going to see Halvor and Mr. Wiggles battle it out even more. Burley is not going to do anything. He's just going to keep it clean, keeping it within the track, and that's the most important thing for the Haas driver right now. Keep it within the lines. That is what he needs to do. Now, one thing that I'm finding very annoying with Burley is that all the other guys who have OWR have it in capital letters. Now, look at the OWR of Burley. That is giving me autistic issues, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm a little autistic. Doesn't matter too much. Oh, and Mr. Wiggles and Halvor collide. No way. That was most likely a mistake of one of the two, because they were definitely clinching wheels there heading into turn 10. Might have been turn 9. And this is no good. Even Dorn is gaining time. Dorn! Look at that! We haven't seen Dorn before, but he showed up. He's got the pace, and he's even looking at a P3 here. Let's look at the leader thing right now, as that's going to be Dorn. Just quite there within that top 3. Halvor and Wiggles have to work together. Burley is going to be safe off a top 2 position already, but now the question will be, will Dorn have the pace? Will Dorn have what it takes to get within the top 3? It seems like Halvor is really trying to push the limits here, staying within that top 3. Coming into the penultimate corner, Mr. Wiggles almost losing the car. Gets another 3-second time penalty, so it won't be Mr. Wiggles within the top 3 either. Neither will he be in the top 4, as Dorn is obviously going to get that position. Matt G will be coming across the line to get this race win. What will Dorn do? What will Dorn do? Yes, sir! Dorn into the top 3 with Mr. Wiggles dropping back to P6. A good comeback race from Stank as well, as we might be looking at some other battles from the guys here on track. The bottom 3 are having a battle with each other as well, as it will be Stefanico into the top 13. Most likely, I mean, depends on whether any of these guys make mistakes, but obviously Simo has 6 seconds of time penalty, John Mopes has 3, and Stefanico has 0, so that's going to be a very, I mean, easy explanation on who is going to finish where. Now, it's only going to be a 4-10 gap between Dorn and Halvor, and in my opinion, that little battle between Mr. Wiggles and Halvor entering sector 3 there might have costed them, I mean, might have costed Halvor that podium. So it's not as easy as it seems here in the wet tire conditions. You know, you've got Austin, very difficult track. The V car who gets back into P11 because of a penalty of Ellie. Now here the last 3 drivers. John Mopes almost losing the car. Silver Fox has left the session, as he DNF'd in the pit lane a couple of laps, I mean, at the beginning of the race even. So he was playing engineer for the rest of the guys. As everyone has come across the line right now, what a race we have had. Not too many incidents. Nobody got crashed out, except for obviously Chris Big Pro, but he crashed out himself. So yeah, a really good race here overall, as Gox got the driver of the day. Let me just double check whether, because we cannot give Gox driver of the day every week when he doesn't even qualify. So just gonna have an analysis on who had a really good race. Might have been Stank, who was all the way at the back of the grid at the beginning of the race. Just gonna analyze it right here, right now. Doran also had a very good race there. So Matt G in P1, we've got Burley in P2 and Doran in P3. Further, we've got Hellforce, Stank, Mr. Wiggles, Gox, Mitrandir, Billy G, and Auriculas who find his way into the top 10. A good race by him as well. Further, we've got the Vicar, Ellie, Sofanico, John Mopes, and Simo who have finished the race. And then we've got our DNFs of tonight, Prep, Silver Fox, and Big Pro. Chris Big Pro. Fastest lap goes to Gox, who is the only one with a 149. No, that is a very big lie, as all of the drivers except for Burley have, in the top 4, in the top 5 even, have a 149. So good job by Gox there, getting another extra point for the Aston Martin team. But my driver of the day goes to Dorn. A good comeback race. He did a good job at the end of the race, trying to get back with that top 3, and it even got him a 3rd place position. So congratulations to you, Dorn. You're my driver of the day, but also congratulations to Matt G. Apologies for ignoring your race win there when you came across the line. But obviously, we're going to acknowledge that you are the race winner here in Austin. I would like to thank everyone who's still here, who have been watching the live stream. I would like to thank you for the patience you have with me as your commentator. Hopefully, I can make it as enjoyable for you as you like. Now, guys, I'm going to finish off the live stream here. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys not next week because I won't be here. I will be on vacation to the Netherlands. So, it's most likely going to be someone else who's going to be filling in for me. Most likely Indigo or the other guy, Smitty. Is he called Smitty? Rook Smitty? Yeah, it's Smitty. So guys, it's going to be the end of the live stream here for me. I will see you in 2 weeks. And thank you very much once again. My name is Phoebe Thomas, as your commentator. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Wherever we go, we'll always know. From the highest mountain to the bottom of the ocean, yeah. Our song is running like a river. Let the current take us there. We've got the melody to set us free, singing destiny. We've got the melody to set us free, singing destiny. Our hearts are like stars, guiding us through the dark. We've got the melody to set us free, singing destiny. We've got the melody to set us free, singing destiny.